For this year's Halloween special, I want to look at a system I usually don't discuss very often, and that is the original Xbox. I have so many fond memories of getting this system and getting so many games for it.
Since it's Halloween, let's look at a few spooky titles. There's The Suffering, a great psychological horror game in vein of Silent Hill, but not as cryptic. Even more bloody too. Dino Crisis actually has a third game, only released on the original Xbox. Here's Cold Fear, another survival horror game. Land of the Dead, first a movie, now a video game. It's not safe to go back in the water when you're Jaws and Jaws Unleashed.
If you're a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, you can always play Call of Cthulhu for the original Xbox.
Maybe I'll discuss those titles another time. Today we'll look at 2 Xbox original horror themed games. Welcome to Retro Dad's Xbox Creature Double Feature. If you want more gaming and collecting content, don't forget to subscribe to stay in the know. House of the Dead 3 was originally an arcade game. I have never seen the arcade port, but I've seen the first arcade game, House of the Dead 2, and even the 4th game in the arcade, or at least at an expo. I just have never seen the third House of the Dead series in arcade form. It was ported to the Xbox in 2002 or early 2003. Sega published it. It's fast 2-player killing zombie action, or you can go solo shooting zombos. There are only 5 stages, and you have a limited ammo in the form of shotgun rounds. Your gun reloads on its own, so you don't need to point down the screen or reload it by pushing another button. They'll automatically add ammo to your weapon. Playing this, you'll notice there are no extra weapons like in some arcade rail shooters. You can pick paths, and it'll take you to different starts of the game. You can also pick which floors you will go to and in which order, adding variety. During portions of the game, you might need to save your partner. If you do, you're rewarded with additional health. In 3, you don't save civilians like you do in Part 2. You mostly save your partner.
Hey, touch me there.
What did he just say?
Hey, touch me there.
There's a lot of zombios, so just keep on shooting.
In House of Death 3, you can also go into the settings and change from green blood to red blood. It doesn't really do anything but change the blood color.
Yeah, just a little shaken up.
As you play through this game, you'll notice winks to other zombie-inspired games. 2 from Resident Evil come to mind. The first are these red-looking creatures that crawl across the ceilings. These are obviously nods to the Lickers from Resident Evil 2. The other is the plant boss. You can't help but feel this too's homage, maybe even a spoof of Plant 42 from the first Resident Evil game. While we're on the subject of bosses, House of Dead 3 has some awesome boss fights. The guard will chase you through a few stages before putting him down. Watch for the target areas of the boss's body. It'll slow him down or stop an attack. The final boss is tough, and it should be. The game is gory, a lot of fun, and there are multiple endings depending on your ranking.
Hey, that's my car, you slimy bastards!
The dialogue is corny, but it's a game that shouldn't be taken too seriously. It's just a fun zombie shooter. I bought my copy for $36 in April 2003. I played the hell out of it. I still really like it. One great bonus for House of the Dead 3 on the original Xbox, you can unlock the great House of the Dead 2 after beating Part 3. That is one reason why I sold my Dreamcast House of the Dead 2. 2 games in 1 disc. House of the Dead 3 is a game I recommend for the original Xbox. It's still fun, over 18 years later.
Say your prayers.
There are times I bought a console just for one game. I bought the GameCube for the Resident Evil remake and the future release of Resident Evil 0.
Like the GameCube, I bought the original Xbox for a single game. Not for Halo or a sports title. Not for House of the Dead 3 either. I bought it for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a TV show that aired for 7 seasons from 1997 to 2003. Buffy is about a girl with superhuman powers that fights the forces of evil, mainly vampires and demons being those forces of evil. Buffy was an allegory to growing up and the terrors of being in high school. That was the original idea. Monsters representing growing pains and obstacles in youth. Buffy was a show that demonstrated humor and horror.
All right, bloody priceless.
Sensuality and sexuality. Emotion and usually good storytelling.
I was a huge Buffy fan when I was in high school and in college. I was so hooked, my friends and even my girlfriend at the time knew not to call me when Buffy was on.
So when I found out a video game based on my beloved show was coming to the Xbox,
Oh boy, I knew there was another console I had to purchase.
Buffy the game was released for the Xbox in 2002. It was published by Electronic Arts. Originally the title was going to be developed for the PlayStation 2, but then it moved to the Dreamcast, but finally settled on the Xbox. Buffy the video game is a beat 'em up. You kick and punch and slay vampires and other monsters. It's really fun fighting the forces of evil. It's basic stuff, but it works for this title. For the most part, the game's controls are responsive and accurate. Although there are times that detection is off kilter and there are frustrating parts when you're trying to do a certain melee move and it just won't work. There are other times you might kill Buffy on accident, especially jumping across chasms or when you're on a ledge or a platform. The game story plays like a hidden Season 3 episode from the TV show. I believe it takes place somewhere during Episode 7 and Season 3, Episode 8. Cordelia and Xander are still a couple.
Really? But let's not forget who the girlfriend is.
Willow hints about her and Xander cheating.
And there's no reason for me to be in the stacks with Xander.
Oz is out of town doing a gig.
I wish Oz wasn't on tour with the Dingoes. I could use some woofy hugging right about now.
Everyone knows Angel's back from a hell dimension.
Provided you don't, succumb to temptation and turn him evil again.
Now, Cordelia, we're all a bit wary of Angel, and with reason.
Is he the good angel or the bad angel this week? Sometimes I forget.
Not helpful, Xand.
I don't recall anyone mentioning Faith, though. There is a chance as an alternate reality and Faith never appeared in Sunnydale, or at least not yet.
Don't be ridiculous, Buffy. The alternate universe Giles has a beard.
For storytelling and dialogue sequences, the game is impressive. Most of the TV cast voiced their video game counterparts, except for Buffy. Unfortunately, Buffy isn't played by Sarah Michelle Gellar's voice box. For the video game, Buffy is played by Gisli Lauren. I hope I didn't butcher that. She's an amazing voice talent. She sounds like Buffy, but most importantly, she has her mannerisms and wind and speak down perfectly.
You know that old saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't? What happens when you know them all and way too well?
And just to clarify, the Master is not voiced by the original actor either.
The combat is decent in the game. As you progress, you get more weapons. Xander builds you a water gun. You can shoot out holy water or hellfire. You have to use it sometimes to get past barriers. You find plenty of stakes to use against vamps and other monsters. The best weapon is a Reaper blade. The crossbow is hit or miss, no pun intended. You can infuse the arrows with holy or fire, making the crossbow a little bit more deadly to those undead fiends. You start off with the training level, and you get used how to play the game. Typical video game handholding, which is fine. The game does get more challenging. It's both easy to fight and win as it is easy to get knocked down. The vampires block a lot, much more than the TV show. You have to use certain tactics to fight bigger enemies like the mutant vampire. Besides vampires, Buffy does fight demons and zombies. There are several boss fights throughout the game. You fight Spike, 2 shape-shifting vampires, you burn one with the sun. The other, shape-shifting vampy, you get aid from an unlikely source. Never mind, he's helped Buffy before. Spike helps. Buffy even takes on the Master again. The dialogue sequences are great. The character interactions are the highlight. Buffy and her vampire enemies have some amusing one-liners.
Give you the whole damn pie.
I wish they could all be California.
They say it more than one time, so is that really a one-liner? And so maybe a 25-liner? Graphically, the game looks good. The atmosphere of the game shines through in the darkness. It's true to the source material. The music is spot on. The sound effects are excellent. I love the sound of steak and vampires. Load times do take a bit. They say summoning or channeling. Nice little addition since it's a Buffy game and all. I don't mind the small pauses between scenes or levels. Buffy the video game on the original Xbox was, still is enjoyable to play. I found myself frustrated at parts but still liking it. While playing the game, it took me back to October 25th, 2002 when I first purchased the game. This, sadly, after trading my Dreamcast and games to do so, plus a copy of Super Mario Land 6 Golden Coins. Here's the receipt to show. What can I say, I was a broke college student. Buffy the Vampire Slayer still is an original Xbox exclusive.
It's still an Xbox original exclusive.
It hasn't been ported to another system. For the original Xbox, it's a game I could recommend, even to non-Buffy fans. Although you should be a Buffy fan to truly enjoy it to its fullest potential. It's not required, but you should be familiar with at least the first 3 seasons of the show to get references and plot points. This is far from a perfect game, and some of the game mechanics don't sit well over a decade and a half later. There are some annoying spots in the game. Some combat is stalled due to enemies and programming. The story is fun. It looks, sounds, and it feels like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. By far, this is the best Buffy game made to date. It wasn't the first, though. The first Buffy the Vampire Slayer game was released in 2000 for the Game Boy Color. You play as Buffy doing what she does best, fighting vampires. It's basically a linear side-scroller. It's simplified since it was on the Game Boy Color. There are cutscenes and it shows the rest of the cast from the TV show. The second non-handheld game in the Buffy franchise was 2003's Chaos Bleeds. It was released for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox Original. Most of the Buffy cast reprise their roles in Chaos Bleeds.
I wanted Anya to jump out of a cake. Wait, that was for my birthday.
Even the talented voice actress Miss Lauren. She is back as Buffy. It is disappointing another actress voices Willow in Chaos Bleeds.
This place was already pretty vamp infested when we got here.
I'm not saying that the actress who plays Willow is bad in any way. In fact, she has her mannerisms and style down pretty much to the T. It's noticeable. And I really wish we could have got the original Willow. That's all I'm saying.
The look of the game is just off. Doesn't look as smooth as the first Xbox title. Even though you can play other characters and there are different game modes, the game isn't as good as the Xbox original.
Oh, monkey poop.
Buffy the TV program will always have a fondness in my heart. It got me through some tough times. The video game allowed me to escape into the TV show I loved. If only they could enhance the graphics and fix some of the issues, I would rebuy this to play on a current gen system. Or just make a new Buffy game. Or Angel. Yeah, do that. Make an Angel video game.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed Retro Dad's Creature Xbox double feature. I know it took me a year. I was supposed to do this last year. But just like candy, it's finally in the bag. And speaking of candy, have a safe and happy Halloween. See you guys next time. Have fun. Go game. And I'll see you next time. So here is my original copy. I got it at a place called The Warehouse. I got it right when Buffy was ending. All the prices of these were going high because Buffy was ending and people were selling them for high prices. Same thing they do now. But I got it for a decent price. It's not in the best condition. But yeah, I have it complete in the box and I've had it since, 2003?